We want to go ahead right now and bring in someone I have been excited all day to talk with because I love cheese. Kimberly Judd, owner, the Cheese Lady. Thank you for being with us on the Oakland County MegaCast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you love cheese.
How does one become a cheese lady?
Well, I've actually always loved cheese since I was a little girl. My family always nicknamed me the mouse because I was always in the refrigerator looking for cheese. And my travels eventually, as I got older, took me over to France and Italy and Europe, and I was able to find the most amazing cheeses that I had ever had. And I actually became infatuated with how do I find these cheeses back home, and found it was very difficult to find them back home in the States. And so my quest became to open up a cheese lady so that I would have access to these cheeses that I absolutely loved all the time.
Make your passion your business. So, for those that aren't familiar with your business, tell us a little bit about it.
So the Cheese Lady is really founded on something that I actually loved while I was in Europe, which was getting face to face with the people that had the passion for what they do. So just like they have the butcher, the baker, they had the fromagers, which were those that loved cheese and could talk to you about the product you were going to enjoy. And so that's really what we built our business on, is really becoming personal with our customers, getting to know what they love, what they enjoy, but also getting to know their families, because I loved having that personal relationship so that you could really feel like it wasn't just coming in to buy a product, but you had something that you knew that somebody cared about your family, and had that conversation that made it more personal. And so that's really what the Cheese Lady is based on, giving a amazing product, talking about it so they know a little something personal, where it came from, the cheese makers, but then also feeling like they had a connection with someone.
Yeah, I think during the lockdown, we were all trying new things. And I know a lot of people were trying to make cheese themselves and discovered it's really not an easy process.
Right. We have made in our store, I actually decided I was going to try to make my own mozzarella and burrata, which I loved doing, but I did find I probably lost a layer of my hand because of how hot the water is when you're trying to form that mozzarella. So it's not a very easy process, and it does give you a new admiration for those cheesemakers out there.
So, can you talk to us a little bit, since you are the cheese expert? How do they make the various cheeses, and how can people who maybe aren't so adventurous get involved and expand their palate?
Well, that's kind of what we love to do, is we love when our customers come in. We love to talk to them about all the different types of cheeses. There are so many different types of cheeses out there. And what our goal is to do is to give them something they love, number one, something they're familiar with. Most people love cheddar, so we have amazing cheddars. But then we also really like for them to extend their palate a little bit and give them something they've maybe never had, and give them something that they maybe never thought they would enjoy. But once they start eating it, they find that it's a whole new world of cheese for them. We also find that even our cheesemongers that we've hired that maybe were not as crazy about funky cheeses or some of those more pungent cheeses, as you begin to taste and experience, you really find that you get more of that desire for those that are a little bit different than you might have ever had before. So that's what we like to do, is just kind of take them on an adventure and bring them to something they've never had before. But once they do, they enjoy, and then they're more able to kind of expand their palate.
Kimberly Judd with us on the Oakland County MegaCast, the Cheese Lady. How do you One of the things I struggle with when I try new cheeses, you go to the store, you can maybe talk to the person behind the counter and they'll help direct you to a cheese. But what do you know? How do you know what to pair it with? Wine or foods and things of that nature. That's always a big struggle for me.
Well, absolutely. And that's something that what we love to say when people walk in, the first thing a lot of people say is, I am so overwhelmed, because we do have boards up there on our walls that have about 130 different cheeses. And so it can be very intimidating. It can be very overwhelming. So what we do in our store is that we actually give them ideas of, this is a cheese you enjoy. Let me kind of expound your knowledge on, maybe this is the wine that goes with it. This is the accoutrement that really enhances this cheese. So that's really our mission, is to take what they love and show them different ways to use it, different jams, or we have all different kinds of accoutrement in the store that go really well with cheese. And that's our mission, to kind of show them that there's so many different pairings out there that they've never thought of, never tried, and it's kind of second nature to us. When we're talking about the cheese, we talk about where it comes from. We talk a little bit about the dairy that made it. We try to get really personal. And then we say, and then we love this cheese paired with this. So we really take our own personal experiences. And that's one of the things I've always encouraged my cheesemongers to do, is to taste and to sample, and then taste with all the different things that we carry in the store. So what they're saying is not just something they've been recommended to tell them this goes with this, but it's something they've actually had themselves and enjoyed. And inside of our store, we have Rochester wine, and it's owned by Jean-Jacques Fortal, who is French, and he has been in the wine business most of his life. And so we also are able to pair our wine and cheese together so that they can actually get a recommendation from us and then go right into him. And he really helps them select something, which has been kind of a springboard to our classes that we do in store, and now from the pandemic, online. But that's really something that always gives our guests something new to enjoy, is different pairings that they've ever had before.
So since I have you with us here on the Oakland County MegaCast, I'm going to ask you kind of a question again that I'm up against is, okay, so if you are pressed into bringing the cheese tray as an appetizer to a family gathering or something of that nature, because we're not getting together with other people right now, should
Right.
you, so we talked about pairing cheese with wine and food, but what about pairing cheeses? Should you stick into a one kind of group, or is it anything goes on a cheese tray?
So that's a question we get many times a day. They will come in and say, I am taking this cheese board somewhere. Help me. I don't know what to do. So what we do is we definitely guide you through that process, because it's really not anything goes. What we try to do is really make you think, first of all, how many guests are you having? And we ask questions. Is there anything that you definitely do not want on this cheese board? Because some people like, I definitely don't want a blue, or I definitely don't want a goat. But so that's kind of where we start. And then we start recommending, because you definitely want to be thought forward when you're making a cheese board. You want to think about different textures. You want something soft, something semi-soft, something hard. Then you want something that is different taste like as far as something creamy that's going to be a little bit more mild maybe, and then go into something that has a little bit more of that nuttiness or earthiness. So we're really thought forward in recommending different styles and types, because when you have a cheese board, you don't want 3 different kinds of the same type of cheese. You really want to experiment with different textures from different regions of the world and different milks. So we really try to encourage different, like a cow's milk, sheep's milk, goat's milk. And if you're not a goat fan, then we'll do different types of those cow's milk or sheep milk cheeses. So we want to make something interesting. We always want something on a cheese board that maybe someone's never had. And even if it's not going to be really strong or overpowering, we still want something interesting. And one of the things that we do with the Cheese Lady is we give out the complimentary cheese signs, so they can put them in each of the cheeses, and it gives a description. So when you are taking it to a gathering, that people can actually read where it comes from, what it's about, and it makes it a little bit less inhibitive to try it. So we really work through with our guest of what their preferences is, but to make it interesting.
So, how's it been for your business to be able to get supplies, especially from overseas?
Well, we have had some challenges. Some of our Italian favorites I've not been able to get for a few months. Some of our other ones that have always just been standbys are a little bit challenging for us to get right now. So we're trying to work with maybe some different alternatives that taste something similar. There's a lot of great American artisan cheesemakers out there now, and they're making amazing cheeses that kind of replicate a lot of the European cheeses. So we're trying to encourage them. Perhaps if you like Taleggio, which is an Italian cheese, or Casatica, buffalo milk cheese, try something like this. It's something similar, but still gives you the taste profile that also helps support a lot of these American artisan cheesemakers that are really struggling during this time as well.
Yeah, so is this really kind of an opportunity for people close at home to take advantage of not being able to get some of the imported cheese to highlight their cheese making and what they're doing here?
Yes, absolutely. Some of our classes that we do virtually really focus on, well, we've done some just on straight Michigan cheesemakers that they're struggling right now. A lot of our artisan cheesemakers. And what we are trying to do is introduce people to those cheeses that they've never had before and still support Michigan cheesemakers and those across the country, because it really is a crisis for all of them. And we want people to know we don't want these artisan cheeses to go away. We want them to still be here when this crisis is over. So during this time, it's really important to support them, to buy their cheeses so that they can stay afloat during this time. I've gotten a lot of letters from cheesemakers around the country that are struggling and asking us for their support. And that's where a lot of times our classes will come into play, that we feature them. And we've had many on our Zoom classes just featuring their cheeses and getting to know them, so that we can support them during this crisis.
Kimberly Judd with us, the cheese lady. You mentioned these virtual classes. We have just about a minute or so left here on the Oakland County MegaCast. Can you talk a little bit more about those classes and how can people take advantage of them if they want to attend one?
Absolutely. So that was one of the most popular things in our store, is we would do in-store classes where we would do cheese and wine, and they would learn so much about it. Obviously, during this pandemic, that stopped all of it, and so we started offering virtual classes. My first one, I was so nervous, and I thought, I'm not doing this again. But by the end of it, our guests were telling us how much they were so thankful for it, and that they still felt able to be connected with someone, and that was what was so important and really just kept us going. So we offer them really every week. We have the same guests that join us every week because it's what they look forward to, and they've told us that. And then we also have been able to utilize it for some of the community that are nonprofit, and we've gone to virtual classes like our Art and Apples Festival that's here every Rochester, and they make a huge portion of what they do every year through that. And so that's been canceled. So we've really teamed with them to do virtual classes on September 11th, 12th, and 13th, and give them a portion of our classes to help support them and have artists doing their craft the whole time during the class. So we do perfect pairings of wine, cheese, and accoutrement, and then we talk about it during the class and expound on the information, basically what we did in store, but this way it's online, so they'll still be able to stay at home and enjoy wine and cheese, not have to get a sitter, which people have thanked us for. And they've been so popular that they've really helped keep us afloat during this time.
Well, it has been such a pleasure having you on the Oakland County MegaCast. Kimberly Judd, owner of the Cheese Lady in Rochester, Michigan.